So there are different ways that we can map out causes and effects. When we think of causes and effect, we want to try and make like a mind map. And there's some different ways that we can think about it. The first way is to simply have causes and effects. We have a cause over here and it creates an effect. Something happens and something happens because of it. Cause and effect. So let's see how this works. Plants are an extremely important part of the ecosystem. If many of the plants disappeared, then herbivores wouldn't have enough to eat. So here's a cause, right? If the plants disappeared, well, what would happen if the plants disappeared? Then herbivores wouldn't have enough to eat. So we have this if then statement. An if then statement's a good way to kind of think about a cause and effect. If new plants were introduced to an ecosystem, then herbivores would have to adapt and eat the new plants. Finally, if a certain plant species went extinct, then the herbivores that eat that plant would have to find another food source or go somewhere else. So we have three different causes and three different effects. So the first cause would be plants disappear. Well, if that happens, what's the effect? Well, herbivores won't have enough to eat. Another cause, new plants are introduced into an ecosystem. Well, what's the effect of that? Herbivores have to adapt and eat new plants. A final cause, one plant species goes extinct. Well, what happens then? Herbivores need to find some new plant to eat or move somewhere else. So here we have three separate causes, right? They're not really related, they're just three separate things, and each of them has a different effect. So that's one way to think about cause and effect. Another way is to think about a chain reaction of effects, right? We have a cause, and that creates an effect, which has another 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 effect, right? One cause creates all these different effects, all right? And each effect in turn kind of becomes the cause, right? So let's look at this example. Plants are an extremely important part of the ecosystem. Imagine for a second that the sun was blocked by the ash of an enormous volcanic eruption. Because of the eruption, many of the plants died. If the plants die, then many herbivores that eat the plants will die. Because there are less herbivores, there is not enough food for the carnivores. Since the carnivores have less food, many of them will die or move away. So in this case, our main cause is this volcanic eruption, right? And what is the effect of that volcanic eruption? The first effect is that the sun's blocked by ash and dust. Well, if the sun's blocked by ash and dust, what's the effect of that? Well, if the effect is that many plants are going to die, right? If many plants die, what's going to be the effect of that, right? If many plants die, the herbivores won't have enough to eat. If the herbivores don't have enough to eat, a lot of the herbivores are going to die. If a lot of the herbivores die, then the carnivores don't have enough to eat. If the carnivores don't have enough to eat, then many carnivores will die or move away, right? So this one cause of the volcanic eruption created this chain reaction of effects where one thing affects another, which affects another, which affects another, which affects another. Okay, and ecosystems are really complicated like this. You do one little thing over here, and it's going to cause some effect over here that you had no idea was going to happen. Okay, so we can either think of it as different causes create different effects, or we can have a chain of effects. All right. One other way to think about cause and effect is that one cause can have many different effects. Okay, so here's another example. Wally had a science test coming up, but he did not study. As a result, he failed the test. When his mom found out, she grounded him for a month. Since he failed the test, he went through the rest of his life thinking he was stupid. He never got married, and he worked a dead end job for the rest of his life. Okay? So in this case, we have this one cause. Wally didn't study. And that one cause, that one thing has all these different related effects. Wally didn't study, so he got grounded. Wally didn't study, so he never got married. I know that's a little radical, but hey. Wally didn't study, so he failed his test. Wally didn't study, so he thought he was stupid. Wally didn't study, so he worked a dead end job for the rest of his life. Okay? So three ways of thinking about cause and effect, but either way, one cause has an effect, right? One thing creates something else to happen. Now, cause and effect occurs all the times in ecosystems. An ecosystem, remember, is a group of living and non-living things interacting. in a specific place, or let's just say in a specific place. Therefore, there's a lot of causes and effects to observe all the time. What we're going to look at today is the cause and effect relationship of food chains being disrupted, right? What happens when a food chain breaks? If we introduce a new species, what's the effect on the rest of the ecosystem? If we destroy an ecosystem, what's the effect on the food chain, right? So all these questions, so we want to be thinking about cause and effect relationships when we look at today, right? Come right back to the meat as soon as you're done with this video.